Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, everyone. All summons have Sss-Level talents. Chapter 31. The indifferent man frowned slightly when he noticed that Chen Lin was teaming up with someone else, and they were still too rubbish, completely adding to the burden on himself. Before entering the dungeon, he said coldly, "Don't lose too badly, Chen Lin." Feng Yi smiled lightly, "Chen Lin, I'll take the first step." Soon, many students moved their thoughts slightly to transport the copy. It can be clearly seen that most people chose to open it alone. This is a top university that gathers geniuses from all over the country. It is not surprising that this phenomenon occurs. Chen Lin didn't waste any time. White light enveloped the three of them and they disappeared instantly. Soon, when all the students entered the dungeon, an instructor waved his hand and used the water curtain projection technique. A huge water screen projection appeared instantly, and more than 100 pictures were switched every few seconds to ensure that all students could observe it. However, there are about 10 scenes that have not been cut from beginning to end. They are all the top talents recruited this year, ranking first in their respective cities, and each of them scored no less than 15,000 in the college entrance examination. Zhang Wuyu's eyes were quick and he found Chen Lin faster than Concubine Ji. Why did he bring two people with him? What do you mean? I immediately scanned the student's registration information and found that it was not strong at all and was unremarkable. At the city level, a score of 2000 can be considered excellent, but in top universities it is only the most basic standard. Team formation will affect the weight ratio of scores. At a level like Chen Lin's, there is no need for teammates at all. He also found two burdens for himself. Does he think that winning the top prize in the province means he is invincible? It's true that I'm a little arrogant. This is competing with the top talents from several provinces, not the college entrance examination. I think freshmen are more difficult than Chen Lin's top 5. After all, they have an impetuous mentality and it is difficult to achieve great achievements. Seeing this scene, many instructors frowned and pointed out problems and criticized him. Soon, they turned their attention to the other two top picks. I saw a meter-long black gun among the monsters sweeping across with dark red thunder and lightning, like an angry dragon blasting all the monsters within its surroundings. Boom! The black gun penetrated and blasted an entire row of monsters in front of it. The girl stepped out with both feet and rushed out, grabbed the black gun and swung it around, making a roaring sound in an instant. All the instructors who watched nodded with satisfaction. What a violent fighting method! I think she is very suitable for your guidance. Don't focus on Chen Lin. Zhang Wuyu said. Concubine Ji shook her head, I play with euphorbia. But Chen Lin's use of the sword is even more inappropriate. It can also be that spurge, she said with a smile. Zhang Wuyu was confused and had no idea what it meant. The Rift Canyon covers an area of hundreds of kilometers and has countless passages, like a huge maze. The monsters living here have a short life cycle and reproduce quickly, so they are numerous. As soon as the three people came in, there was a roar from the front. Luo Zan did not hesitate, immediately raised his big shield and used the taunting skill. Countless monsters came out of the darkness, their eyes red, and rushed towards him. Luo Ning suddenly became nervous and immediately used all the buffs. At the same time, the gray eyes shone slightly. The monster's body suddenly froze, and the surrounding colors quickly peeled off and turned into a gray field. Just in time to test his current strength, Chen Lin moved his mind slightly, and instantly a silver butterfly appeared with white light. It flew around Chen Lin for a few times, and then slowly landed on his finger. Suddenly silver light shone brightly, and within a few steps, Chen Lin's whole body was covered in silver armor, and he appeared instantly with the heavenly Quan sword and staff held in his right hand. Aha! After changing the form of the heavenly sword, Chen Lin directly gave the scepter to Luo Ning, then pulled out the silver sword from behind, stepped on the ground, and his figure instantly appeared in front of the monster dozens of meters above. Near at hand, the skill that was supposed to be used to save lives was used by him to close the distance. Laugh! The heavenly sword was swung out instantly, just like cutting tofu, cutting through the bodies of several monsters smoothly. Then the movement continued unabated and turned into an afterimage, killing him in the blink of an eye. Before all the monsters could react, blood spurted out and they fell down with stunned eyes. Seeing this scene, Luo Zan shouted excitedly, "My dick is so hot, Brother Lin." All he had to do was lure all the monsters over, and Chen Lin had them all taken care of before he could even resist the damage. He finally realized the joy of being assisted to hold his thigh. No wonder the school teacher has always emphasized that if you change to a shield weapon and see a powerful C position, don't hesitate to lick you. Just listen to him 100% and provide him with protection, and that's it. Luo Ning breathed a sigh of relief. Her brother suddenly made a taunt, attracting a bunch of monsters to rush towards her, almost frightening her. At this time, the instructor who saw this scene outside was shocked. With such speed and damage, it's almost catching up with melee-type hidden professions, right? But the question is, isn't he a summoner? Something's wrong, there's something wrong with this attribute. Even if Chen Lin performs perfectly in the first turn and gets promoted in his career, he shouldn't have such close combat ability. Yes, there are many summoners across the country, but there has never been one that is so powerful. Suddenly many instructors frowned and thought. At this time, a mentor thought carefully and said, I think it may have something to do with the silver butterfly. It was Chen Lin's second summon. Hearing this, their faces were filled with disbelief. Summons that can be turned into weapons have never appeared before. New varieties. The knowledgeable governor was also slightly surprised. Turning her head to see concubine Ji, who had her lips raised with some pride, she shook her head and said, now more than a dozen people have more points than Chen Lin, and the points earned by the team are a little less. If that's the case, I'm afraid he will be laughed at as the top pick and not worthy of his reputation. Chen Lin is your future son-in-law, what good will it do to you if you are embarrassed? Concubine Ji put her hands on her hips. As soon as she finished speaking, she received a slap on the back of the head. The governor's head was full of black lines. You are so old, why do you still have no sense of shame? How can you do something to others at such a young age? Mom, haven't you heard the old saying, asking a little man to push a big cart? Hearing this, the governor's mouth twitched slightly. Although she didn't understand the meaning, she still knew very well what kind of virtue her daughter was. It's definitely not a good thing to say. Chen Lin suddenly exerted force, and the flesh and blood of the monster he stepped on exploded under the weight of tens of thousands of kilograms, splashing everywhere. At this time, the silver armor on his body was covered with blood and looked extremely terrifying. Chen Lin thought for a moment and had a general understanding of his own strength. He can instantly kill these level 20 monsters with one strike, and he has reached the peak of his second level. Even if it's a third turn and you can't win, you'll still be fine. After carefully feeling this colorless field, Chen Lin was a little surprised, and he had an idea of not wanting to move. Or even commit suicide. Countless negative emotions kept flooding into his mind, trying to destroy his will. If successful, Chen Lin would undoubtedly be driven directly to end his own life. But he can suppress it easily without causing any impact. Looking at the recorder, they only gained 120 points, which was obviously a bit slow. He wants to win the first place and gain access to the resources of the school. Regardless of Yindi or Haiming, they both need a lot of resources to become stronger. Thinking of this, Chen Lin's thoughts moved slightly. In the flash of white light, a ferocious demonic wolf that was 24 meters tall, huge, and completely black slowly appeared. Ouch! The roar shook the surroundings and resounded throughout the canyon for thousands of meters. It continued to reverberate and spread further. Luo Ning, who saw Haiming for the first time, shrank in fear and hid behind Chen Lin. She felt that in front of this giant beast, her brother would be eaten in one bite. Haiming, spare no effort to kill all the monsters. As you command, my lord. Haiming's mind responded. A shuddering violent aura suddenly erupted from its body, and its size instantly increased to more than 100 meters. Black flames slowly rose and spread all over the body, making it look like a destructive monster, with terrifying power. Choosing a direction toward the depths of the canyon, Haiming immediately rushed forward, and his figure disappeared from sight in the blink of an eye. Not long after, the recorder on Chen Lin's wrist continued to send out reminders of points earned, and the points continued to rise rapidly. Now, Haiming's normal combat power is at level 3, and when he's gigantic, he can even defeat level 4. Let him not have to worry about it and sweep across by himself, which is much faster than leading 3 people. Let's go too. Chen Lin walked to another road, intending to score points at both ends. In just 2 minutes, Heiming had already run more than 10 kilometers. All the monsters along the way were engulfed by the black flames, burned to death, and turned into black fire snakes that flew back into his body. The body size slowly continues to grow at a rate of invisible millimeters. In the distance, 5 first-level students were struggling to resist the influx of more than a dozen giant spiders. "You warriors, don't be afraid," the beautiful priest ordered anxiously. "Hurry up and push forward, don't retreat anymore, I will give you milk." She felt regretful in her heart at this moment. When forming the team, she had clearly said that each of them was very powerful and they could definitely easily compete with her to get a good ranking in the freshman competition. When the results came in, I found that each one was more outrageous than the last. They can't even defeat the weakest monster in the dungeon. Suddenly, the beautiful priest felt a tremor under her feet, followed by a scorching temperature, and she immediately looked over there in horror. Boom! A terrifying giant wolf that was more than 100 meters in size and surrounded by pitch-black flames rushed over. Several large rocks in the way were directly hit and exploded. Several monsters coming towards it were instantly destroyed in the pitch-black flames. Boom! The scorching temperature made the beautiful priest's face turn red. The giant black wolf that rushed over at extremely fast speeds in just 1 second set off a powerful gust of wind, causing her robe to fly up. The terrifying black flames enveloped the giant spiders and burned them to death in an instant without even letting out a scream. In just a short while, the body turned into ashes. The blackened land was left behind, and the black flames that had been wiped clean instantly flew towards the black giant wolf that had gone away. Seeing such a scene, the 5 people were all shocked to the point of being speechless and froze in place. "So strong," the beautiful priest muttered to herself, her eyes a little distracted. The girl jumped up high and waved the condensed dark red thunder dragon towards the countless monsters below. Boom! The moment the ground was hit hard, it shattered within 100 meters, and dark red thunder and lightning exploded, annihilating all the monsters. Standing in the center of the cracked ground, the girl kicked up the black gun and held it in her hand, her face still filled with emotion. These pieces of trash have never been beaten. Seeing her sister getting sick again, Luo Lan looked helpless. If I had known earlier, I shouldn't have agreed to her understanding of the fiery fighting spirit. The side effects of this 7th level skill would have been too great. Although his strength has greatly increased, his personality has also become completely distorted. Originally, Luo Hongying was just a little bellicose, but now she has become pathological. Thinking of this, Luo Lan couldn't help but worry. Will her sister become a domestic violence woman in the future? Just as her thoughts were spreading, she suddenly felt her feet trembling slightly, and a palpitating breath came along with the heat. What's going on? Before she could react, she saw Luo Hongying's expression solemn and she stepped out suddenly. The fiery gaze burst out with fighting intent, and violent dark red thunder and lightning instantly emerged, surrounding the black gun. Looking at the charging black flame giant wolf, just looking into those vertical pupils made her mind shake and fear spread. However, soon the corners of Luo Hongying's mouth curved, and her beautiful face showed madness. He, this is interesting, this is interesting. Looking at his sister who rushed forward fearlessly, Luo Lan quickly applied several power enhancements and protections. With these blessings, the combat power was directly doubled and raised to a higher level. Luo Hongying was originally a top genius who could fight across several levels, but now he was even more incredible. Even if the opponent is a 3rd-level boss, you can fight it. A 10-meter-long dark red thunder dragon condensed from the black gun, letting out a faint roar that shook the air. Boom! When the two sides collided, the powerful force instantly set off a wave of air that rushed in all directions. Seeing the unharmed giant black wolf emerging in the golden light, Luo Hongying's face froze, and the fighting spirit in her eyes disappeared, replaced by a look of disbelief. This attack has reached the 3rd level of power, how could it be completely fine? Heiming looked coldly at the human under his feet who was attacking it for no reason, and slapped it away instantly with his sharp claws. Click! The 3 protective barriers were shattered layer by layer under the 840 points of terrifying power. The shocked Luo Hongying quickly raised her black gun to resist. Boom! Her figure flew out instantly and fell dozens of meters away, with the black gun stuck to the side. Luo Lan's face changed drastically, His thoughts moved slightly, and the moment he clasped his hands together, a holy shadow dozens of meters long slowly appeared. The indifferent face is perfect, with 3 pairs of white wings growing on his back, and golden lines flashing between his eyebrows. Here, the 6 Saint Guardian Angels. Daughter here. SS talent, Angel's favor. A golden screen of light rose instantly, covering the 2 of them. Luo Lan felt that her mental power was flowing away quickly like a barrel with a big hole in it. She immediately said, "Sister, retreat quickly." Before he finished speaking, Haiming, who was walking towards him, had already raised his sharp claws and black light appeared. Tear the golden light screen to pieces in an instant. It glanced at the 2 of them coldly, then walked by without paying any attention to them. Seeing this scene, Luo Lan was stunned. Luo Hongyiang, who struggled to get up from the ground, was also stunned as she clutched her painful chest. At this time, there was silence outside. All the instructors, including the governor, and many old students who came to see how valuable this new class of students were all silent. You can hear a pin drop on the field. Is this really the strength that a summoner who has only changed professions a few days should have? After hearing this, everyone finally reacted and took a breath. Terrifying. This strength is completely beyond the scope of the 2nd rank, isn't it? It's amazing. It's amazing. When I first saw his summons, I was still thinking, is this horse riding a horse that can have a size below level 20? I believe it even if it's level 40. If you get this summoned object, you can conquer the world. ... Seeing this extraordinary combat power, everyone couldn't help but think a few words in their hearts. Invincible at the same level, a contemporary monster. This is a title that only those who have awakened SSS level talents can claim. Su Qingqing looked excited. She came here specifically to see Chen Lin. Sisters, I have his student ID, and I have his friends. Really or fake? Send it here and take a look. Looking at concubine Ji with a proud face and a smile blooming like a flower. Zhang Wuyu was shocked 10,000 times. This non-existent probability could really be gambled away by her. Why is that? Suddenly, a sentence appeared in Zhang Wuyu's mind. Could it be? She is really a genius. The Luo Hongyiang twins, both of whom possess SS level talents and hidden professions, are the top geniuses in the entire Great Sha. As a result, he was so easily crushed by Chen Lin's summons. Zhang Wuyu was a little in disbelief. It seems that the only answer that can be explained is that top summons. Chen Lin's summoned object has a talent of S level or above, and it is also a growth type. The potential is almost as good as that of the monster who awakened his SSS talent. It seems that concubine Ji will not be punished, but will be rewarded. Chen Lin has the weight to enjoy the resources of 2 top picks. Thinking of what he said before, Zhang Wuyu looked complicated. In the next 10 hours, Haiming didn't stop for a moment, traveling through hundreds of kilometers of canyons and killing tens of thousands of monsters. Even the 3rd ladder boss was killed 3 times. The body size increased to 33 meters, and various attributes increased by 27 points. The further you get to the back, the more energy is needed for growth to occur. However, after the attribute reaches 100, the effect of each additional point will be greater than the original. This is a qualitative change in attributes. To put it realistically, it means that the power has entered a new level. The speed of obtaining evolution points has also slowed down. Tens of thousands of monsters only provide 200 points, and there are still 1,300 points left before the next evolution. Chen Lin was not dissatisfied. After all, this was only half a day's gain, and it was still terrifying. It's just slower than before. But the road ahead is always the harder it is to make progress as you go to the back, no one is an exception. Lin, brother Lin, we have been promoted to level 6 directly, level 6. Luo Zan looked excited. It was his first experience that upgrading could be so easy. He didn't make any effort at all, and all the credit went to Chen Lin. He had been walking on thin ice before upgrading, and his parents carefully searched for weak mutant beasts in the wild to kill. Luo Ning was also obviously a little happy, with emotions other than nervousness and fear in her gray eyes. Chen Lin smiled and looked at the recorder. The points had reached 34,000. He communicated silently, and in an instant the silver armor disappeared and turned into a silver saucer flying on his shoulder. Not far away, He Mingli was lying on the ground. It killed a whole circle and reached Chen Lin. After 10 hours of high-intensity fighting, he was now exhausted and could no longer stand on his limbs. If it weren't for its very high physical attributes and its endurance, it wouldn't be able to withstand the load of gigantism for so long. Brother Lin, is it okay? Luo Zhan looked at He Ming, feeling a little cruel. Chen Lin shook his head and used a recovery technique. It's not a big problem. Soon, the copy limit time has expired, and the white light envelopes the three people and teleports them back to Skylark Square. Chen Lin looked calm at the sight of countless people who were either amazed or scorching. In the surrounding area, many students were disgraced. Especially the indifferent man, who hammered the ground with a look of humiliation. With all his strength, he was seriously injured by a random claw slap from a giant black wolf. That blow not only knocked him away, but also wiped away his arrogance. Okay, let me announce the score list of all students. The secretary of the governor shouted, and after several operations, a holographic screen was projected in the air. First place, Chen Lin, 34,500 points. Upon hearing this, all the freshman students immediately looked over with envy. The indifferent man's eyes widened, completely unable to accept it. He immediately looked at the holographic screen and saw that Chen Lin ranked first in points, a long way ahead. The following is a cliff-like plunge. The second place is only 13,000 points, Feng Yi. This is absolutely impossible. The indifferent man couldn't believe it and thought there was something wrong with the list. Not just him, many people also thought it was a bit weird. Even if Chen Lin's points were ridiculously high, why did everyone else, including the two top picks, have such low points? Seemingly sensing everyone's doubts, the secretary explained, the giant black wolf you encountered was summoned by Chen Lin. Many people were seriously injured when they tried to block it, which caused a long delay. Time, so there is a huge difference. Upon hearing this, all eyes were extremely shocked and looked at Chen Lin again. Since He Ming almost killed the entire canyon, most people have encountered it. However, let alone blocking them, they didn't dare to move at all. Only some top geniuses who are confident in their own strength want to stop it and kill the boss. Then, without a doubt, he was knocked to the ground by a claw. More than a dozen students gritted their teeth and looked at Chen Lin. They are the victims. Feng Yi had a look of astonishment on his face, even he himself was full of doubts about this ranking. There are no less than 3 players who are definitely better than him on the field, and it is not his turn to take second place. His estimate for himself is that he can only make it into the top 10. For a moment, Feng Yi felt that only Chen Lin and him were competing seriously, while everyone else was just acting. Thinking of this possibility, his hands and feet suddenly felt cold and numb. Fortunately, after hearing the explanation, Feng Yi immediately understood the reason. Naturally, he also met the giant black wolf, but amid the genius pride and danger, he decisively gave up on the former and chose to turn around and run away. Therefore, he was lucky enough to escape and could continue to earn points. Thinking of this, Feng Yi looked at Chen Lin with gratitude. Brother, he was so powerful that he destroyed all his competitors. On the side, seeing her sister staring at Chen Lin unabashedly, Luo Lan quickly advised, Sister, we just took action without clarifying the situation. We can't blame him. I know. Luo Yunying nodded and withdrew his gaze. Seeing this scene, Lorraine breathed a sigh of relief. She didn't want to make enemies with someone just because of a misunderstanding. The key was that he was so perverted. The summoned creature tore apart the angel's shadow that favored her with just one claw. It left a deep shadow in Luo Lan's heart. On the platform, the secretary to the governor said, This is the end of the freshman competition. Your ranking on the list will determine your class assignment tomorrow. The credit award will be entered into your student ID number before 9 o'clock. Free dissolution. After hearing this, everyone immediately walked towards the cafeteria and dormitories in 2s and 3s. After fighting for a full 10 hours, they all felt hungry and exhausted. Many injured lone wolf students were helped to heal by the pastor sister. Su Qingqing trotted over and said with a smile, Senior Chen Lin, let me take you to the cafeteria, or how about going to my dormitory? Senior sister is very good at cooking. Forget it, I have friends. Chen Lin shook his head. Su Qingqing was not disappointed when she saw this, and she didn't expect Chen Lin to agree. Then let's go to the cafeteria. Our food at Skylark Academy is very good. It's all mutated animal meat. It's big and filling. Me too, me too. Feng Yi walked over quickly. After all, it was a dormitory. Chen Lin thought about it and did not refuse. An hour later, after eating and drinking, we returned to our private suite. Seeing Chen Lin pushing the door open, the indifferent man's face felt a little unnatural. He struggled for a moment, took a deep breath and said, "Your things were delivered just now. They said they were the second batch of materials and resources. I saw that you were not here, so I moved them to your room." Chen Lin was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, "Okay, thank you." The indifferent man turned his face sideways and whispered back, "You're welcome." "Ha ha ha, Li Zongfang, you look so interesting." Suddenly jumping out from behind Chen Lin, Feng Yi couldn't help but laugh. Li Zongfang's veins appeared when he saw it. His mind silently penetrated the ring and took out a 2-meter sword. Originally, he planned to change his past. But he couldn't stop laughing when he saw Feng Yi. If he didn't cut him with a knife, his thoughts wouldn't be clear. Chen Lin silently gave up his position and walked directly to the room on the second floor. "Chen Lin, don't leave, help me, help me." After a scream like a slaughtered pig, the living room fell into silence. In the room, Chen Lin opened the big black box. This time there were more rare gold and stones than the first batch. It seems that the academy has deployed almost everyone who can move. Every piece of armor and weapon would be greatly improved if a piece of rare gold stone was incorporated into it. If left to a blacksmith, a piece of excellent equipment can be crafted with just a few pieces. From this point of view, cultivating yindai is really expensive. However, the pros outweigh the cons. As long as enough gold and stone are fused into the silver plate, its hardness cannot be broken even by Heiming. There is also a chance of acquiring various characteristics. When the time comes, Chen Lin will not only be invincible in defense, but his combat power will also be extremely terrifying. He didn't intend to just be a summoner with no power, as his weakness was too obvious. Once targeted, many methods can easily kill him. Chen Lin had read some experience notes. All summoners who have reached rank 5 powerhouse will change their fighting methods on the front line. They will hide behind and directly assign summons to kill the enemy. Didn't dare to show up at all. There once was a 7th level summoner who was instantly killed by a level 50 alien using strange means in the melee. Therefore, it is necessary to cultivate silver plates as protective armor. Otherwise, Chen Lin would only be a tortoise when he faced off against various foreign races in the future. 10 minutes later, the gold and stone were all fused by the silver disc. At this time, its hardness was so strong that even the 3rd level damage could not penetrate it. In addition, its weight reached 13 tons. With the mutual amplification of strength, one punch could smash the ground. And it also gained another layer of sharp characteristics. With the overlap, 1 + 1 is undoubtedly greater than 2, and the lethality is even higher. In general, Chen Lin was very satisfied with this improvement. At this time, the special desktop machine sent a reminder that his first freshman reward of 50,000 credits had been credited. After thinking for a while, he gave up buying rare gold and stone. If he couldn't catch the Skylark Academy, he would just grab it hard. After all students would need rare gold and stone, and the ones allocated to him were already the limit. Although with the potential he showed now, if he needed it, the academy would still give him priority. But such a monopoly is a bit too much, and it is not fair to many students. In his previous life, he lived in seclusion and loneliness, which made Chen Lin consider others in everything. After thinking for a while, he opened the product list, and what caught his eyes were all kinds of natural treasures. For example, the Hercules fruit can directly increase 5 attributes, but it is only effective after the first 2 times of taking it. There is also the Yuan Gang fruit that can increase the hardness of any part of the body. Since the game has been brought into reality, the size of Blue Star has expanded hundreds of times, and the terrain and mountains are no longer the same as before. Most places are beyond the reach of the human race. Now the living space is further compressed by the mutant beasts, and they dare not step into the restricted areas one after another. Outside the defense line, the alien races are also eyeing covetously. The strongest among them refine the planets outside Blue Star and turn them into an environment suitable for the survival of their own race, and continue to breed and become stronger. Then continue to deploy combat power to Blue Star, occupy more area little by little, and surround the human race from all sides. The reason is that the resources of Blue Star are extremely rich, which makes them jealous. They want to dominate. Chen Lin is anxious. Now the number of mutant beasts is huge. Once they cannot be contained, they will fall into chaos. At that time, such an opportunity will never be missed by the alien race, and they will definitely do everything they can to launch a massive attack. We must improve our strength before this and contribute to the human race. Thinking of this, Chen Lin's eyes became firm. He searched for a long time and selected dozens of fruit resources to buy, and all the credits were swept away. The delivery location was set as the training room. It was specially built for students to hone their skills and try their power, and the area was very large and wide. I waited here for a while. The black-clothed man from last time drove over quickly and handed the items to Chen Lin respectfully. Looking at the special black box in his hand, Chen Lin was a little curious. How could it fit in such a small space? He randomly chose a training room to enter, and closed the door with his backhand to isolate the interference from the outside. Opening the special black box, there was a space of 10 square meters that exceeded the norm. It seems to be the same principle as the ring, using space expansion crystals, made by a forger. Chen Lin poured out all the things at once and summoned He Ming. As long as it is organic, greed and gluttony can be converted into energy. After the communication of thoughts, He Ming nodded to show that he understood, and pulled the dark flame, swallowing the resources like an open mouth of the abyss. Chen Lin was a little surprised. He didn't expect that He Ming's control over the flame had reached a meticulous level. Soon, he felt a stream of heat surging, strengthening his whole body, and feeling extremely comfortable. He Ming's body size was also growing little by little. After a few minutes, it reached 40 meters and touched the ceiling of the training room. Strength 254, right pointing arrow 275. Constitution 267, right pointing arrow 288. Agility 260, right pointing arrow 281. Magic 238, right pointing arrow 259. After the life level reaches the middle summon, the attributes obtained by He Ming's upgrade doubled. The Rift Canyon has been upgraded by 6 levels, with a total of 60 attributes. At the second transformation, all attributes are more than 250 points, which is impossible even for top summons under normal circumstances. When it is gigantic, it can sweep everything, and it is an invincible existence among the same level. The advantage of He Ming is that its attributes are ridiculously high. Anyone who is slightly weaker than it can be directly crushed. Its dominance is terrifying. This is why even the top geniuses are as vulnerable as ants in front of it. They rely on various skills and ultimate moves to increase their combat power by several levels. However, He Ming's normal attack is an ultimate move. Under normal conditions, it is invincible in the same level. In the burst form, it can directly cross a big turn and crush the enemy. The sense of oppression is full. Chen Lin's thoughts moved slightly, and he took a look at the attribute bar of his personal panel. Attributes: Strength 138, Constitution 107, Agility 109, Spirit 194. After the profession was promoted to Summoning Sword Master, each upgrade increased 5 points of strength. It can be regarded as completely messing up the summoner. From a fragile skin that only adds spirit and needs to hide in the back, it has become an offensive profession. The next day, Chen Lin was woken up by a group message about joining the class. He washed up silently, and as soon as he walked down, he saw 3 people waiting for him. Today is the official enrollment, why can you get up so late? Feng Yi shouted, covering his painful right arm. I'm used to it. Chen Lin smiled slightly, why don't you go find a priest for treatment? Li Zongfeng on the side said coldly, if he dares, I won't mind stabbing him again. When Feng Yi heard this, his body suddenly trembled and he looked at Chen Lin for help. Chen Lin ignored it and asked, which class are you assigned to? They are all in the same class, you should be too, right? Cao Yang said. Chen Lin nodded, then let's go together. Not long after the 4 of them went out, they met Luo Zan waiting on the road, followed by Luo Ning. Today she was wearing a pure white top with a bow ribbon hanging down her chest, and a short skirt on her lower body. Her oval face was a bit timid, but she looked delicate and cute. His gray eyes flickered, as if he was extremely nervous. Feng Yi suddenly felt that his hand no longer hurt. He shook his hair and stood up straight. Li Zongfeng looked at it with disdain. "Are you in the same class?" Chen Lin asked. The two nodded repeatedly. Luo Zan looked happy, as if he had been worried about last night. "Hey, it's great to be in the same class as Brother Lin. The dormitory area is not far from the classroom." The six of them walked for a few minutes and quickly found their class. As soon as I entered, there were many people watching. Even now they are still a little shocked. With just one summoned object, he defeated all the first dozen beings. Such a feat has never happened before. Chen Lin didn't care and found a seat in the back row by the window. 5 people followed and sat aside. As students arrived one after another, 2 extremely beautiful twins came in from the door and looked around for a moment. After finding Chen Lin, Luo Yuning took her sister there and sat in front of him. It attracted a lot of attention along the way. After all, it was strong and ranked 3rd among the freshmen. I heard that many veteran students are trying their best to find out their hobbies, and if they want to get closer, they get better first. As a result, the two became more and more famous. When Feng Yi saw this scene, his eyes were filled with envy. Chen Lin was so charming. If they hadn't grabbed the side, wouldn't he have been hugging him from left to right? After this little episode, concubine Ji, who was tall and had a delicate face, walked into the classroom. After glancing at everyone, she said, "My name is Ji Fei, and I will be your class teacher in the future. Of course, if you have anything to do, try not to come to me. I'm too lazy to take care of it." Then he pointed at Chen Lin. "You are the strongest. As the squad leader, you are responsible for solving their problems. If you don't understand, come and ask me again." Chen Lin was stunned for a moment. Is it so casual? He quickly looked embarrassed and said, "I refuse. After all, being a squad leader means you have to be responsible, and he doesn't like dealing with trivial matters." Luo Yuning glanced at Chen Lin, stood up and said, "I will be the monitor, Teacher Ji." "Okay, it's up to you." Looking at her, concubine Ji nodded indifferently. Everyone had no objections to this. Except for Chen Lin, she was the most powerful in the class. As for Feng Yi, the second-place player, everyone knows that he has a lot of talent. Concubine Ji straightened her expression and said in a serious tone, "You are all geniuses from various provinces. You have worked hard to get into the academy, presumably for the sake of better resources and stable development of dungeons. But unfortunately, the situation has changed drastically now. After decades of layout, the alien race has gained greater and greater advantages. Our frontline is in a precarious situation. Maybe not long after, they will launch a general attack and break through the defense in one fell swoop." When everyone heard this, their eyes instantly became unbelievable. Nowadays, society is clearly operating in an orderly manner, and many entertainments have even begun to develop and emerge. The media is also claiming that the situation has improved and that people should not live in fear. There has never been any bad news online, everything is stable and calm. But now it suddenly says that a disaster is coming. Seeing their shock and confusion, concubine Ji slowly said, "Don't you wonder why there are basically no strong people above rank 5 in society? Even in the military stationed in the entire province, the strongest it's only 4 turns." After hearing this, everyone thought carefully about the past, and it seemed that this was indeed the case. Logically speaking, even an ordinary professional would be able to achieve a mid-range combat power like rank 5 if it took more than 10 years to improve in dungeons. I won't say it's bad on the street, but it's definitely not hard to see anyone online or in real life. Suddenly, a terrible suspicion came into their minds. Students who graduated from top universities are at least rank 4 or above. Most of them went to the front line without hesitation. Because of this, they gained peace in the rear. There was a long silence in the classroom. Due to the information on the internet, many people think that many professionals cannot get on because they just don't have enough copy resources, their own potential and many other reasons. Of course, some of the parents in the family are powerful people of level 5 or 6, so they are aware of these situations. However, Countries naturally prohibit the dissemination of news like this that can cause panic. This has led to many people from civilian backgrounds not knowing such things at all. Now, what's more important is that the scale of the mutated beasts is getting bigger and bigger. If they are not stopped and they attack the city like they did in the riots a few years ago, the front line will have to send a large number of strong men to come back for reinforcements. The aliens who discover the situation will undoubtedly launch a general attack in advance. So, Concubine G glanced at all the students. The time has come when we need to stand up. What the country means is that all the schools send outstanding seedlings to the military base to start reducing the mutant beasts. Of course, if you reach the first rank, you can also apply to go. Now, those who volunteer to go to military bases to carry out operations to reduce the number of mutant beasts, stand up. As soon as he finished speaking, there was a sound of chairs being pushed away in the classroom. In the back row, Chen Lin and 4 other people all stood up. They had already known about it through Cao Yang, so naturally they didn't hesitate at all. When Luo Zan saw this scene, he immediately stood up, as well as Luo Ning. He suddenly remembered what Chen Lin said before and understood what it meant. However, the two of them believed in Chen Lin unconditionally. In the front row, Luo Yuning and Luo Lan also stood up immediately. Luo Lan was a little helpless. She knew that her sister would definitely choose to go. This was the tacit understanding between the two sisters for more than 10 years. After struggling for a moment, some people stood up and their eyes became firm. Fighting mutant beasts was always a matter of time, but now it's just earlier. Gradually, only half of the class was still sitting, and they looked confused. Outside the city, the probability of death is very high, unlike the dungeon where you can exit directly. It would be okay to wait until they are fully fledged, but now, they don't have much confidence. Seeing this, Concubine G raised her eyebrows. The fact that half of the people volunteered to go was already beyond expectations. Okay, let's all set off and head to the military base. A sitting fat man stared wide-eyed. Wait, do we want it too? That's right, the students in this class are all top 100 freshmen, and they are all outstanding talents in the school. It's natural for them to go. The reason why we are talking about it now is because the military intends to single out willing people as the key targets of attention. It's not that Concubine G deliberately played this trick. The fat man looked frightened. Can I not go? He had experienced the horror of almost dying once in Rift Canyon, and he never wanted to experience such a feeling again. Concubine G had no expression on her face. If we don't want to go, how about letting those professionals, or even ordinary people, go? Hearing this, the students who remained motionless fell silent. You really can't muster the courage. There is a second option, quit Skylark Academy. The 20 or so people who were still hesitating suddenly stood up. Concubine G didn't say anything more to force them to go. Even among graduating students, after 4 years of hard work, there are still many who do not choose to go to the front line. Of course, if you do this, you will not be able to go outside the city to kill mutant beasts without a dungeon monster spawn, and your level will stop improving. Let's go. Concubine G led everyone towards the outside of Yunk Academy. At this time, there were dozens of heavy troop transport trucks parked in front of the school gate, and the soldiers were waiting with serious faces. Not only their class, there are also many old students present, who have already boarded the heavy trucks one after another. A soldier trotted over and saluted. Captain G. Feng Yi followed, a little surprised. Teacher G, do you still have a title? Concubine G nodded and explained. Before I became a mentor, I had been helping to kill mutant beasts at the military base. Okay, get in the car. Yes, everyone shouted. As all the students boarded the heavy troop transport trucks, the originally bustling Skylark Academy became extremely empty. The governor watched the engine roaring and the car getting farther and farther away, and sighed with a worried look on his face. This time not only the students, but also the teachers all went together. The situation is serious. If the number of mutant beasts cannot be drastically reduced in advance to prevent them from rioting, the human race will collapse from within. Sigh, I hope they can all survive when they are truly facing life and death. The secretary comforted him gently. I will. Troop transport trucks crossed the road one after another and headed out of the city. Many ordinary people on the road looked at me with surprise and curiosity, and there were many people who picked up their mobile phones to take pictures and post them on their WeChat moments. What happened? That direction seems to be coming from Skylark Academy. In the compartment of the heavy troop transport truck, a light came on, reflecting a young man and woman who had just graduated from high school. Concubine G picked up the information file and looked at it for a moment before saying, "The place we are going to this time is the Hengshan military base, located 900 kilometers away from Zhongtian City. In front of them is the Balian Mountains, which has a diameter of thousands of kilometers. After Apocalypse's detection, there are tens of thousands of level 10 to level 30 mutant beasts just in the periphery. If we go deeper, we will find that there are countless level 40 to 50 mutant beasts occupying the area. These are not things you can deal with now. You just need to clean up the outside." All the students took a breath when they heard this. How could they kill such a huge number? Feng Yi wondered, can't we use annihilation weapons? The mutant beasts are all gathered together, and one shot can definitely kill a large area. Combining many exotic materials and professions, technology has advanced by leaps and bounds, and has even created several annihilation weapons more powerful than nuclear weapons. I heard that once it is fired, no one below level 9 will be spared, and the range is extremely huge. Concubine G shook her head. Most of the hot weapons have been transported to the front line. As for the annihilation weapons, they exist to frighten the foreign races. Holding it in your hand is far more useful than using it. Unless there is really no other option, the higher-ups will not let the students who have not yet graduated risk their lives to fight mutant beasts. If it weren't for the support of numerous hot weapons, which reduced a large number of casualties, the front line would have been unable to withstand it long ago. The human race faced more than a dozen alien races, more than 10 times more than itself. The front line has always relied on technology. In every local tug of war, they have to trade less for more to barely resist the offensive. However, for unknown reasons, their recent attacks have become more fierce, and they continue to raid the defense lines in all directions, day and night. Therefore, there is nothing the front line can do to clean up the mutant beasts this time, and they can only rely on themselves. 8 or 9 hours later, the heavy troop transport truck stopped. As the heavy steel doors opened to both sides, everyone got out of the car one by one, and their eyes suddenly opened up. In the distance are long and continuous mountains, and the setting sun covers the woods with a touch of red. Several soldiers in black combat uniforms lined up in a tight formation, seemingly waiting for their arrival. In addition to them, there were also students from several neighboring cities coming from other directions. However, compared to the students of Skylark Academy, their number is very small, only about 10. Aha! The soldiers collectively saluted, which touched everyone's hearts and couldn't help but put away their lazy look. Then a fourth-rank officer came over and talked with Concubine G and other teachers. While waiting with nothing to do, Feng Yi observed the surroundings, lowered his head and whispered, "Most of them are living professions, and their attributes will not be added after upgrading. There are also some ordinary people who have not changed professions. But their guns are so handsome. The caliber is as thick as 2 fingers. It's very powerful at first glance. I wonder if you can break me." Chen Lin became interested when he heard this. "Do you want to try it?" "Okay, Feng Yi, go up and borrow one, and I'll shoot you." Li Zongfang's eyes lit up. Seeing them eager to try, Feng Yi fell silent. He was just making a joke normally, why did he take it all seriously? After the conversation, Concubine G came over and said to the students in her class, "Everyone follow me to the mission access point." Everyone immediately followed her, looking left and right along the way. The entire military base is very spacious, with forts erected around it, and the defense is tight. Many soldiers were moving items back and forth, seemingly busy preparing for the upcoming cleanup of mutant beasts. Not long after, more than 30 people, many senior students, and people from other schools, hundreds of people arrived at the task reception point. The waiting female soldiers distributed black smart wristwatches to everyone. Chen Lin looked familiar, similar in appearance to the recorder used in the college entrance examination. But there are more tasks and map functions, and there is also an icon to send rescue. With just one click, the military base will immediately know the situation and send personnel to rescue. At the same time, People nearby will receive the message immediately and can arrive as soon as possible. Generally speaking, with this feature, many deaths can be reduced. Please enter your student number. As soon as it was put on the hand, the smart wrist made an ethereal voice. Chen Lin lightly clicked on the enlarged number a dozen times, and soon the verification successfully popped up. Welcome, we are happy to serve you on the 21st. In this operation to clean up mutant beasts, each student needs to complete at least one task that day. You have not reached the target today. Please pick up a task at the task access point as soon as possible to complete it. Start now. Chen Lin strode to the screen displaying countless tasks and glanced at it. First of all, he directly ignored those difficult level tasks that required 4 or 5 turns. Although Heiming could reach 4 levels with a full burst, this was only a rough estimate and not 100% accurate. If you encounter a level 40 mutant beast that exceeds the norm on the way deep into the mountains, it will undoubtedly be dangerous. It's better to be on the safe side and take on a few ordinary tasks required by the 3rd turn. The span is not too big. Suddenly, Chen Lin felt eyes staring at him, and immediately looked behind him. They were Luo Zan and Luo Ning who were following him from beginning to end, looking at him pitifully. Both of them are auxiliaries, so they must find someone to form a team, otherwise it will be difficult to go out into the wild. Chen Lin thought for a moment, shook his head and said, "The task I am planning to take on is too difficult for you." Hearing this, Luo Zan was disappointed, but following the target pointed by Chen Lin, his eyes were shocked when he saw the 3-level strength request tasks one by one. They definitely wouldn't be able to help with a task of this level. Luo Zan didn't expect that Chen Ling would dare to take on such a high-level task just after he arrived outside the city and didn't need time to adapt. He couldn't help but remind him, "Brother Lin, you must be careful." "Yes," Chen Lin nodded, "although I can't be with you, it seems that someone else is willing." He looked at Feng Yi, whose eyes were giving him crazy hints, and his meaning was ready to come out, and smiled slightly. "Brothers." Feng Yi was so moved that he held Chen Lin's right hand tightly, his gratitude almost overflowing from his eyes. Luo Zan and Luo Ning chose to listen to their elder brother without hesitation. The 3 of them quickly completed the team formation. Feng Yi then invited people, "Center, the wild is extremely dangerous and accidents may happen at any time. How about we take care of each other together? Get away." Li Zongfang's eyes were disgusted. After choosing the task, he left with the auxiliary girl in his class. "Sao Yang, Before he finished speaking, Sao Yang interrupted directly, "You have a hidden profession after all. Don't be so cowardly. 1 belt 4 will definitely be fine. At the worst, please call for help. If we are nearby, we will come and collect your body." Feng Yi suddenly felt that the surroundings were full of malice, and he had difficulty breathing due to the oppression. His extremely powerful roommate failed, so he had to find other classmates who were not so reliable. It didn't take long for Chen Lin to choose 3 tasks, clearing out the violent black ape, the double-toothed giant tiger, and the blood-scaled giant crocodile 200 kilometers away. The distance between the 3 parties is relatively close, and a square route line appears on the map, which can save a lot of time on the road. Chapter 41. The locations of all mutant beasts are searched and obtained by micro-drone, which was modified by the Array Master and engraved with the Eye of Observation. Mutated beasts are territorial and usually don't stray too far from home, so it's difficult for people to defeat them. Moreover, there are thousands of micro-drones still lingering around the mountains to monitor. Engraved with observation eyes, their visual range reaches 5 kilometers, and they will update the movements of mutant beasts at any time. All military bases have made adequate preparations for this cleanup operation so that students can kill mutant beasts more conveniently and stably. Of course, their life safety is also considered. Everyone who goes out to perform a mission can receive 3 high-explosive grenades, and a powerful pistol equipped with 7 armor-piercing bullets. These are made of special materials and are enough to hurt mutant beasts around level 20. But whether you can hit it or not depends on you. Chen Lin had no confidence in his marksmanship, but now his punch was more powerful than an armor-piercing bullet, so he simply used 3 high-explosive grenades to satisfy his inner curiosity. Seeing the young man turning around and leaving alone, the female soldier on the platform showed a hint of surprise in her eyes. She had to take on 3 missions in a row that required 3 levels to be completed safely. Doesn't she have to be very strong? But he looks like a freshman, right? In fact, even those students who are sophomores and juniors and have reached more than 30 levels only dare to take on second-level tasks first and are very cautious. Because once you encounter the danger of death outside the city, you cannot exit. So everyone needs to adapt slowly. The level is only 16. The profession is only a summoner, and the combat power is not outstanding. Will something happen to him? The female soldier looked worried. Chen Lin walked to the armed vehicle, applied to the soldiers for the right to use it, then got in the vehicle, started the engine, and set off with a roar. It couldn't summon He Ming to rush on. It needed to deal with the most powerful blood-scale giant crocodile and needed to maintain full physical strength. The more important reason is that accidents are very easy to happen outside the city. If a few more mutant beasts suddenly attack, He Ming will beat them until they are exhausted. 2 hours later, Chen Lin drove more than 100 kilometers along the rough road. On the way, several mutated beasts were attracted by the sound and suddenly jumped out to attack. However, Chen Lin directly controlled them and evaded them with exquisite swaying, and then ignored the accelerator. Looking ahead at the dark mountain forest with tall trees, Chen Lin stepped on the brakes and got out of the armed vehicle, followed by 4 mutant beasts around level 10 still chasing after him. You have to be reincarnated, right? Chen Lin sighed slightly, and the armors merged in a flash of silver light, and shot out instantly, breaking their bodies with 3 or 2 punches. Then dig out the flesh and take out the red crystal stone. Silver butterfly can't turn into anything too big at present, which is why Chen Lin didn't turn it into a vehicle. The size of the armor is already at its limit. At this time, the smart wrist made a voice. Do you need to turn on the light mode on the 21st to guide you ahead? Is there such a function? Chen Lin immediately agreed. Suddenly, bright white light emitted from the edge of his wrist, illuminating the surrounding area for more than 10 meters. He did not panic because he was alone, and rushed straight into the dark forest. Everyone in the headquarters looked solemn. Through a nearby micro-drone, they immediately discovered that something was wrong with the route taken by Chen Lin and the 2 freshman students. Further ahead is the area for mutant beasts above level 30. Why don't you stop? Check quickly and find out what mission they have taken. The middle-aged man wearing a major general's uniform said solemnly. After hearing this, the woman in charge of controlling the screen quickly operated and said in a shocked tone, kill the level 33 violent black ape, the level 36 double-toothed giant tiger, and the level 39 bloody crocodile. These are all tasks that require level 3 strength. Finally, one is even close to level 4, are they crazy? Yang Xiao rubbed his eyebrows and looked at the list sent by the teachers in his hand, and the corners of his mouth couldn't help but twitch. Is this the most powerful freshman at Skylark Academy this year? He is only level 16, how dare he take on a mission that increases his power by 2 major transformations? Moreover, mutant beasts have the same talents as humans, and are generally much more ferocious than the monsters in the dungeon. Everyone else is choosing tasks that are weaker than their own strength as targets. It was a good thing for him to directly accept the mutant beast mission that exceeded his own combat power by more than 20 levels. It's simply a death wish. But seeing that he was among the key targets of attention, Yang Xiao finally put down his opinion. Geniuses like them, who knew the danger and stood up immediately, would never betray the human race. Even if they were a bit stubborn, they couldn't ignore it. He immediately informed and asked 4 armed helicopters to approach Chen Lin. Once they were in danger, he did not need to wait for them to press the call and started rescue directly. Looking at Chen Lin on the screen, who was wearing silver armor and walking quickly through the mountains, Yang Xiao let out a long sigh. Compared with other bases, their traverse base may be lagging behind. From time to time there will be scary sounds in the distance. If Chen Lin used all his strength to reach the distance of more than 20 kilometers, he could reach it in 10 minutes, but he needed to slow down a little to prevent the mutant beasts from attacking around him. Suddenly, the smart wrist issued a prompt, please note that you have entered the habitat of the target violent black ape. Just a second after this sound, a huge ferocious green snake suddenly sprang out of the darkness, smashing through the bushes blocking the view and rushing towards him. The snake body was 4 meters thick, with a length of dozens of meters and no tail visible. It opened its sharp fangs and bit fiercely at Chen Lin. The terrifying bloody mouth almost swallowed him whole. Chen Lin reacted very quickly, and instantly grabbed its fangs with both hands. The powerful impact made Chen Lin retreat slightly, and he suddenly exerted force. Click! Under the support of inhuman strength and 13 tons of weight, the giant snake's fangs instantly cracked and then broke. Hiss! The giant snake roared in pain, and at this moment, 2 high explosive grenades appeared out of thin air. Chen Lin hit his head with each other to activate them, and instantly threw them into its mouth accurately and then pressed down on its upper jaw. Bang bang! 2 terrifying explosions appeared in the giant snake's throat, its flesh and blood exploded, and charred black smoke floated out. It's just that the mutant beast approaching level 30 has a very strong life, and the giant snake has a talent for defense, so it still hasn't died. Chen Lin looked calm and kept attacking continuously, without giving it any chance to recover, and directly clenched his fist and swung it down. Hiss! The injured giant snake roared miserably, its cold snake eyes showed fear, and it wanted to run away immediately when it knew it couldn't be beaten. However, its body was too long, so Chen Lin hugged it directly and slowly dragged it back. Hiss! The giant snake screamed in terror and struggled wildly. The ground shook with its huge body, but it was to no avail. Seeing Chen Lin's fist continue to hit his head, its snake eyes showed fear, and it resisted even harder. Boom! The giant snake's flesh and blood exploded into a blur, and its skull collapsed and shattered. However, Chen Lin still didn't stop. He punched it down hard and felt the snake's body struggle gradually become weaker until it was completely motionless. He felt it was not enough. It is said that a snake can survive for a while even if its head is beheaded, not to mention that it is a mutant beast. Chen Lin grabbed the giant snake's jaw with both hands and tore it apart for several meters. This brutal scene plunged the command headquarters, which was clearly visible through the drone, into silence. He's so perverted. He's only level 16, but he can actually beat up a level 29 giant python. The female officer opened her mouth wide. The others were similar, with incredible expressions in their eyes. There is a whole 13 level difference, but it can still be crushed. What kind of monster is this? Yang Xiao silently lowered his head and looked at the Chen Lin information in his hand repeatedly, puzzled. It is clearly shown here that his profession is a summoner, that's right. But he couldn't believe that this outrageous fighting power was even stronger than the boxer he was once known as the most brutal in close combat. Back then, when he was at this level, it was impossible for him to overpower the giant python and kill it in such a short time. Suddenly, a roar echoed through the screen and filled the room, and everyone's expression suddenly changed and became a little solemn. I saw a man standing up, 50 meters tall, with swollen muscles and thick black hair, leaping down from the mountainside. Boom! The ground shook violently, and the strong wind blew away countless fallen leaves. It seemed to have been awakened by the noise of the battle, and was angrily rushing towards the place where Chen Lin was, trying to eat the bugs that disturbed it as a midnight snack. It's not good, it's a violent black ape. Wait, how did it reach level 34? The female officer looked shocked. Although Chen Lin's performance just now was outstanding, mutant beasts transform every 10 levels. Compared with the giant python, the violent black ape is much stronger. It can also crush a giant python and kill it with just a few punches. With a huge disadvantage of 18 levels, she didn't think Chen Lin could withstand it, and she looked worried. Yang Xiao shook his head, feeling equally unfavorable. Among the entire human race, there are only a few who can achieve such a span of combat power. He has already held the walkie-talkie in his palm, and as soon as something goes wrong, he will immediately have 4 armed helicopters support him. Although it couldn't cause much harm, it was no problem to attract the attention of the violent black ape and buy some time for Chen Lin to escape. On the screen, after confirming that the giant snake was completely dead, Chen Lin suddenly raised his head and looked forward before he could harvest the loot. He heard the overwhelming clicking sound of the trees, and the next second, a huge black shadow swooped down from the sky, with a bloodthirsty and ferocious face. Black Ape's palms clenched into giant fists and smashed down, carrying a strong wind and pressing down on Chen Lin below, with frightening power. Chen Lin was not afraid and directly drew out the sword from behind and slashed out. The terrifying weight and sharpness were unstoppable. He slashed away the strong wind and struck the huge fist with extremely hard leather. Boom! A shock wave spread around, the ground beneath Chen Lin's feet cracked, and his feet instantly sank. However, he was not injured at all. All the damage was blocked by the silver disc, and he didn't even feel the impact. Roar! The black ape roared again, as if he was furious because this seemingly small ant could block its blow. The body suddenly enlarged several times, quickly reaching a height of 70 meters, and then, like swatting a fly, the palm of his hand immediately swatted at Chen Lin. To crush him into a pulp. Boom! The generated strong wind swept in all directions, and Chen Lin instantly appeared above the black ape in the billowing smoke, and the sword suddenly slashed down. The terrifying knife flashed through the air like silver light, and instantly struck the back of the black ape's head. However, as it grew larger, not only its strength but also its cortex became harder, similar to the effect of Haiming's giant talent. Therefore, only a wound half a meter deep was left, which was not a serious injury to the huge mutant beast. Roar! In pain, the black ape immediately turned his huge body and smashed his fists at the disgusting bugs on the ground. Chen Lin kept dodging the falling shadow flexibly, rushed to it in a few steps, and struck the same spot several times with his sword. Roar! Black ape immediately raised his foot and stepped down hard. Boom! In an instant, the ground shook, and smoke and dust flew in all directions. Chen Lin's figure had already sprung out from there, appearing more than 10 meters away, his eyes slightly focused. With the weight of 13 tons and the sharpness, plus the strength of 138, it is still difficult to cause serious injury to this black ape. If you want to kill it, even if you pull out the heavenly sword and sharpen it together, it will take half a day. It seems that the span of his combat power has reached its limit at this point, and any higher will only lead to abuse. Thinking of this, Chen Lin stopped delaying and was ready to directly use his trump card to finish. He still had two tasks at hand. Buzz! A completely transparent sword between reality and reality is suspended in the hand. It is more than 1 meter long. The sword is engraved with countless incomprehensible white lines, which is mysterious and mysterious. Chen Lin couldn't help but feel his mental energy drained out instantly. It's your first time on stage, let me see your power. He slowly raised his hand. Suddenly, Black Ape's hair stood on end, and he felt a tremor coming from his brain, as if he was being threatened by something invisible. It's this ant-like guy. The Black Ape roared furiously, its eyes full of ferocity, and its huge body immediately pounced, trying to flatten him and swallow him. At this time, Chen Lin's hand had already dropped. The magic sword instantly cut through the void, shattering the Black Ape's mental mind. Suddenly, without any warning, its huge body collapsed in front of Chen Lin. Boom! The strong wind instantly blew away the scattered smoke and dust, and the surrounding branches and leaves rustled. Under the magic sword, even if its physical body is still alive, it is useless, and its spirit has collapsed and died. The mental power of most mutant beasts is already fragile and they have no means of defense. Adding to this, Chen Lin's mental energy reached 194 points. In a matter of seconds, Chen Lin took back his sword. In the distant sky, on the supporting armed helicopter, several soldiers looked at each other. Are they needed? The entire command center suddenly lost its voice, and everyone stared blankly at the screen, not even understanding what was happening. Yang Xiao pondered for a moment and immediately thought that this should be the result of a trauma attack. This type of skill is very rare, and there are not many effective defense methods. It is just enough to restrain the mentally weak mutant beast, so it can kill it instantly. What really surprised him was Chen Lin's own terrifying combat power, which was actually able to surpass level 18 and defeat the violent Black Ape without any harm. The key is that this is not an explosive method, but seems to be his normal combat power. This is the scariest place. Those monsters that can directly defeat the enemy by leaping through a big turn, without exception, only rely on bursts or ultimate moves, not a constant state. Although both can achieve a large combat power span, the difference is very big. If Chen Lin can maintain this normal state, he can surpass the two major changes in combat power. When he is on the front line, he will definitely become a nightmare for aliens. Thinking of this, Yang Xiao's face showed joy. We must let this kid grow up quickly, and we can't let anything happen halfway. Although the level difference will become larger and larger later on, it will be difficult to continue to win across levels, so the degree of abnormality will eventually decrease. But as long as Chen Lin can maintain his invincible dominance at the same level, he can be regarded as a monster. Yang Xiao strode out of the command center, went to an inconspicuous small room, closed the door, activated many secret formations, and then carefully took out a jade talisman. Brother Zhang, a monster was found at the Hengshan military base. He is a bit too fierce. I am seriously injured now and I am afraid I cannot save him. After waiting for about half an hour, there was a noise from the jade talisman. Can you tell me exactly how strong it is? Yang Xiao thought for a while. We are at the same level, but if we work together, he will push our heads to the ground and hammer us. Yu Fu was silent for a moment. That's terrible. I guess the entire human race can't save him. He's waiting to be assassinated by a foreign race. Yang Xiao was a little helpless. He can crush me with one hand, but you can't say that against Brother Zhang. Okay, I'll discuss it with the other thrones. Jade Talisman immediately replied. After hearing this, Yang Xiao put away the Jade Talisman and silently returned to the headquarters, saying to himself, I hope everything goes smoothly. Chen Lin walked up to the giant snake's corpse, used a sword to cut open its head, and found a red crystal stone, followed by a black ape. Killing mutant beasts will not directly gain experience points like in the dungeon, but will require the life crystals in their bodies to be absorbed. Seeing the prompt that appeared in front of him, Chen Lin silently ignored it, moved his mind slightly, and summoned the 40-meter-high Haiming out of thin air, letting it swallow the two mutated beast corpses. The evolution value soon increased by 0.2 points, which was still far, far away from more than 1,200 points. He had devoured a large amount of fruit resources before and did not provide any evolutionary value, which made Chen Linsheng make some guesses. Only by devouring living individuals can it be converted into evolutionary value. Although the talent of greedy and gluttony is unnatural, it does not break through common sense. It is impossible for every stone you eat to convert energy and evolution values into you. Chen Lin thought for a moment, took out the life crystals dug out by the 4 mutant beasts in his hand, and threw them all into the dark flames. As the life crystal melted and was brought back into Haiming's body, the evolution value instantly increased by 10 points. Really? Chen Lin's eyes lit up. In this case, there would be a way to quickly obtain the evolution value. Otherwise, in the future, he would not dare to think about whether he would have to kill billions of creatures to evolve once, and how long it would take. Opening the map and taking a look, Chen Lin slowly said, the next mission target. A few minutes later, with a roar, a giant tiger over 30 meters in length with long pointed tusks rushed out. But before it could attack, Haiming's vertical pupils glared, intimidating it and frightening it directly. Immediately after the ground exploded, Haiming instantly appeared in front of the giant tiger, his sharp claws suddenly stretched out, and the terrifying black light appeared above. Boom! With a claw of terrifying power, the giant tiger was sent flying, and the powerful recoil knocked down several towering trees. On its face, 4 hideous wounds appeared, bleeding countless amounts of blood, and the bones were visible. But before it could recover from the severe pain, Haiming was already standing in front of it instantly. This time, the black light was still covered with black flames, and the terrifying aura it exuded frightened the giant tiger. Run! This thought filled his brain. But in terms of speed, it couldn't match Haiming at all, and was quickly caught up, tearing and biting like crazy. In just 10 seconds, the giant tiger was completely swallowed up by the black flames. Not even the bones were left, only ashes on the ground were gently blown away by the wind. This brutal scene made the command staff who saw it through the micro-drone a little scared. The power emanating from those vertical pupils made them shiver all over, even across the screen, and they felt like they would die in the next moment. At this moment, Yang Xiao suddenly remembered that Chen Lin was really a summoner. The combat power of his summons is even more terrifying than him. 2 monsters. Yang Xiao smiled bitterly, feeling in his heart that the waves behind him pushed the waves ahead. Suddenly the female officer seemed to murmur, he can't really complete these 3 tasks, can he? Everyone heard this and showed admiration on their faces. Haiming led his master through the mountains and forests at high speed. This place was already full of mutant beasts above level 30. However, with its intimidation, no mutant beast dared to approach. Just lurking in the darkness and silently watching the black giant wolf go away. Next to a lake hundreds of meters deep, a giant crocodile with blood-red scales all over its body and a body length of more than 100 meters was resting with its eyes closed. Suddenly, it felt something, and it opened its bloody vertical pupils violently, and a terrifying and ferocious power erupted. Roar. This roar is like a demonstration, a warning to those who intrude into the territory. Haiming suddenly exposed his fangs, and a terrifying violent aura erupted from his body, and the entangled power was more terrifying than the giant crocodile. In the next second, its size grew rapidly, and it soon became 161 meters tall, and its body length reached more than 300 meters. Feeling like it was being suppressed by an invisible force, the giant crocodile charged angrily, making the ground vibrate with every step, making a huge sound. Upon seeing this, Chen Lin immediately retreated dozens of meters away. Ouch! Black flames erupted from Haiming's body, and black light emerged from his sharp claws. At the same time, a circle of golden light slowly rose on his skin and hair, revealing an unshakable meaning. Roar! The giant crocodile opens its huge mouth, with rows of sharp teeth that can easily bite through steel. However, when he bit the golden light, he could not close his mouth, making a clicking sound. Haiming's vertical pupils looked at it coldly, raised his sharp claws and brought them down hard. In an instant, countless blood-red scales were torn apart, and the skin and flesh were blurred. Roar! The giant crocodile roared fiercely and whipped up its thick long tail. The bloody light on it was spinning with terrifying power. The moment it turned around, it was whipped towards Haiming with a fierce wind. Boom! 4 long, deep marks were plowed into the ground, and Haiming was able to stop with all his strength. Roar! The giant crocodile followed closely, kicked up its forelimbs suddenly, bit its neck, and took it with it into the lake behind. Boom! In an instant, water splashed into the sky with great force, and a large amount of lake water overflowed and soaked the ground. Under the lake, 2 giant beasts were fighting wildly. Mud and rocks exploded, making the lake water turbid. There were even more turbulent waves on the lake, and the water waves kept rising and making loud noises. The dark flames all over Haiming's body did not diminish at all, and had no intention of being extinguished by the lake. Instead, the temperature of the surrounding lake water continued to rise and become hotter under the scorching heat. Even though the giant crocodile had the upper hand in the environment, it was still suppressed. Even with the use of the strength talent and the crazy rotation of blood and light, it still couldn't do any damage. If the mutated beasts were not born with rough skin and thick flesh, and were very tenacious, they would have been beaten to death long ago. In just a few minutes, the water level of the huge lake dropped by less than half, and the sand and soil were so mixed that it was impossible to see what was going on underneath. Suddenly, the water surface exploded, and a giant black wolf rushed out with its upper body, grabbing the land with its forelimbs and landing. It shook its whole body, and the dark flames directly burned away the water droplets on its hair, and slowly walked towards Chen Lin. It was more than 300 meters huge and 162 meters high. It was full of pressure. In addition, after the battle, the ferocious power wrapped around it reached the extreme, making people tremble. It won. Really completed all 3 tasks. The headquarters exclaimed with joy, and Yang Xiao also smiled slightly, awesome. Beside the lake, Chen Lin was not affected by Haiming's ferocious power, so he went up to stroke it, which happily lowered its head to be touched. The fate of that giant crocodile can be known from the fact that Haiming has grown a little bigger. At this time, number 21 on the wrist made a sound. The mission has been completed. You can return to the access point at the military base to submit. Chen Lin glanced at the sky. The silver moon hung high in the sky, casting a faint light over the earth. It's been a long time since we set out, and it's time to go back if we don't plan to spend the night in the dangerous wilderness. After carefully searching for the route on the map for a while, he rode Haiming back to where he was. By the time Chen Lin returned to Hengshan base, it was already 1 o'clock in the night. At this time, the entire base was still brightly lit, and many students had returned a long time ago. They had received the peripheral first and second transfer missions, and it only took about an hour to travel. Walking straight into the pickup point, Chen Lin found a female soldier who was not so busy to deliver the mission. "Hey, have you really finished it?" The female soldier couldn't believe it. She recognized Chen Lin, the first-year student who had completed 3 tasks in succession that afternoon. Chen Lin nodded and called up the video evidence from the 21st. The female soldier suddenly looked shocked. It took a while before she realized what she was doing, and she hurriedly said, okay, classmate, I'll do the statistics right now. Level 34 Violent Black Ape, Level 36 Double-Toothed Giant Tiger and Level 39 Giant Bloody Crocodile, a total of 100 contribution points. Chen Lin nodded, saw the prompt for the contribution point on the 21st, and turned back towards the dormitory. Not long after he left, Chen Lin's name appeared on the big screen at the most obvious location of the access point. It was then revealed that he was a first-year student at Skylark Academy, a level 16 summoner, with 100 contribution points and a ranking of 1,245. Not only at the Hengshan base, but also at other bases where many schools gathered, these large characters appeared at the same time. At this moment, many students staying at the access point looked surprised. Hey, who is this person? He directly received 100 contribution points and completed at least 2 third-level tasks in one wave, right? I am also a freshman, and my current contribution points are only in single digits. Who is not? I only dare to do the tasks of level 1. These mutated beasts are too ferocious. Even if I have the upper hand, I will be beaten. Nowadays, most sophomore and junior students only have a few dozen contribution points. There are even fewer freshmen who have achieved 10-digit education. As for the hundreds of contribution points, they are basically all senior students. Of course, some powerful junior students also contributed more than 100 points. They undoubtedly took on several third-level and fourth-level tasks in succession and completed them together. As for the difficult level tasks required by the 5th rank, currently only instructors have the strength to complete them. The reason why everyone was surprised was that Chen Lin was only level 16 and a freshman. Doesn't this mean that he crossed 2 great turns and successfully killed 2 mutant beasts above level 30? After all, there is an upper limit on the number of missions you can accept, with a maximum of 2 for a single player and a maximum of 5 for a team. The second level mission only provides a dozen contribution points, which is obviously not enough. At this point in time, we can only make one trip. Therefore, based on the above, it seems that the only explanation is that Chen Lin indeed completed the third level mission and killed mutant beasts that were more than 10 levels higher than himself. At Luo Shang base, Feng Yi was holding several other instructors to discuss how to kill the level 60 beast that appeared outside. Suddenly he saw Chen Lin's name on the ranking list and was slightly stunned. Of course he still remembered Chen Lin. It was quite unexpected that he could win the top prize with an ordinary profession like summoner. The last person who achieved this level was Zhongju Throne. Nowadays, one of the few rank 10 experts in the human race is named Duan Tian. How can it be? Hearing Feng Yi's exclamation, several instructors followed his gaze and were a little surprised. Old Feng, do you know this student? It's a bit exaggerated to contribute hundreds of points on the first day as a freshman, isn't it? Feng Yi nodded and said, the regret about recruiting me that I told you before is that he was given too much by concubine Ji at that time, otherwise he might have been a student of our Baialong. Hearing this, all the teachers suddenly realized that he was the number 1 scholar in Dongtian. However, someone soon shook his head and said, there should be a strong old student teaming up to lead him, otherwise he would have no reason to earn hundreds of contribution points in one wave on his own. Yes, but such behavior is not advisable. In addition to preventing mutant beasts from rioting, this cleanup operation also has the purpose of tempering oneself and paving the way for the frontline battlefield in the future. Yes, the current situation is urgent, and the priority should be to improve strength. There is no use in deliberately gaining rankings. The instructors shook their heads. They do not encourage old students to bring in new students, as this will not have a sharpening effect at all. Although it is dangerous under the pressure of death, it is undoubtedly more able to fully stimulate one's potential, which is a function that is not available in dungeons. This was also the reason why Daxia made up his mind. The flowers cultivated in the greenhouse can no longer resist the alien wolves, so the strategy must be changed. The protection plan is no longer implemented, but geniuses are allowed to fight against mutant beasts, and the dungeon resources are given to those with lower combat power. Of course, many geniuses will die in this way, but those who survive will undoubtedly quickly grow into strong men to defend the frontline battlefields and buy more time for the development of the human race. Feng Yi let out a long sigh. He had learned from Zhongju's throne and was quite optimistic about Chen Lin's future. A little disappointed now. At this time, he saw the young man in black not far away, smiled and said, "Youngshu, have you completed the mission?" "Yes, Teacher Feng." Hearing the voice, Xiao Yunsuyun came over and nodded politely. "I killed 2 level 27 mutant beasts. I was able to come back very early, but something happened midway." Feng Yi was a little surprised, but he was relieved when he thought that the other party was the only monster in Daxia that had awakened SSS-level talent, and was more powerful than the top geniuses. "What happened?" he asked curiously. "I encountered a level 33 heavily armored lizard, and it took a lot of effort to kill it." Xiao Yunzu's voice was calm, as if this was a trivial matter, and she silently clasped her hands behind her back. Feng Yi's mouth twitched as he watched, and he marveled from the bottom of his heart, saying, "It's amazing. You can kill a level 33 mutated beast at level 17. There are really endless talents in your generation, and they are much better than us back then." The corners of Xiao Yunzu's mouth raised slightly, and he raised his head at a 45-degree angle, with an extremely confident expression on his face. "Teacher, don't worry, this is the world of geniuses, but I am invincible. I will overwhelm all opponents and ascend to the throne of the human race." He gave himself full marks for this show of pretense. Now, they must all be shocked. Xiao Yongshu took a sneak peek and found that all the instructors covered their faces and did not speak. Why is this completely different from the picture he imagined? Suddenly, he saw Chen Lin's name on the big screen, and his face froze. "I couldn't believe it in my heart. Impossible, absolutely impossible. How could anyone be more powerful than him? 100 contribution points, even if you include the heavily armored lizard he killed, it still can't compare." Seeing Xiao Yunzu's doubts about life, Feng Yi was a little helpless. Although he was not very smart, he was his student after all. He said, "We discussed just now. This is probably the result of an old student. Don't worry about it." Quote. Xiao Yongshu breathed a sigh of relief, and the thoughts that were exploding in his brain stopped. However, he was inexplicably not in the mood to talk to girls from other schools about his performance in killing level 33 mutant beasts. The joy of completing the second mission was gone. A pressure arose spontaneously, making him become more urgent. Saying goodbye to Feng Yi in a hurry, Xiao Yongshu immediately picked up the task again after delivering it, and then resolutely walked toward the mountains shrouded in darkness. Before sunrise, he will surpass Chen Lin. Classmate, this is your dormitory." The soldier led Chen Lin to the room with number 1 and helped open the door. "Thank you," Chen Lin said. The soldier smiled and said, "You have worked hard cleaning up the mutated beasts. Take a good rest." Chen Lin nodded, watched him turn around and leave, and then entered the room himself. The place is relatively simple, with only 4 beds, tables and chairs, and 3 familiar people eating barbecue together. "Chen Lin, why did you finish the task so late?" Feng Yi quickly pulled a chair and placed it next to him. Chen Lin smiled, sat on it and said, "The journey took too long." The plate in front of him was piled with various kinds of barbecued meats, which were obviously left for him by the 3 of them. Chen Lin was not polite and started eating. "Ever since I became a professional and fought everywhere, going without food for more than 10 hours seemed to have become the norm. If it weren't for my inhuman physical condition, I wouldn't be able to bear it at all." "What mission did you take that requires you to go so deep?" Feng Yi was a little curious. "Just kill the level 34 violent black ape, the level 36 double-toothed giant tiger, and the level 39 giant bloody crocodile. It's easier than you think." Chen Lin picked up the beef that was crispy on the outside and tender on the inside and took a bite. After swallowing it, his expression was calm. Hearing this, Feng Yi was shocked and unconsciously dropped the string in his hand. "Then how can you come back alive?" "Kill them all. It's quite simple. The problem is that the distance is too far. It takes a long time to travel." Quote. Feng Yi fell silent. They were all scared on the way to find the mutated beast. Because this is not a dungeon, you cannot exit with just a thought. Once they encounter more ferocious mutant beasts outside the mission, it is very likely that they will all be annihilated. This probability is not small. I heard that not long after entering the mountains, a team of freshmen who were over 10 levels encountered an accident. Fortunately, their position did not go too deep and was relatively close to the base, so the dispatched support arrived quickly and rescued them. If they were in a level 20 to 30 area, I'm afraid they wouldn't be able to hold on before they had time. This is why most people only take on tasks that are weaker than their abilities. Even if an accident happens, you can still cope with it. Without corresponding combat power, taking risks is not advisable. Isn't this normal? Li Zongfeng drank some water to calm down his shock, and then said, I'm not surprised at all that Chen Lin can do this. His summons can almost kill him with one palm. Li Zongfeng suddenly became less resistant to this matter. If Chen Lin was stronger, wouldn't it mean that being knocked down by one blow would not be considered a shame at all? One day, if Chen Lin ascends the throne, he can even show off this matter. Thinking of this, Li Zongfeng laughed. You are only level 16 now, and you can't find many humans with such a combat power span. Cao Yang exclaimed, I feel that you are even more evil than that Xiao Yangshu. Chen Lin smiled and said nothing. It's clear why he has such a span of combat power. As long as Heiming continues to devour it and completes its evolution, it will become invincible, and there is no need to rely on leveling up at all. And he can passively become stronger with it. As long as the silver plate has sufficient metal or resources, one day, not even the 10th level experts will be able to break through its defenses. And with continuous fusion, the weight of the silver plate will also increase little by little, and the current 13 tons is already terrifyingly powerful. With the double blessing of Chen Lin's strength and kinetic energy, every blow was like a mountain bearing down on him. When he grows to a weight of 10,000 tons or 100,000 tons in the future, even if his strength is not high, a single punch will break the earth. Because Chen Lin himself is not affected by any factors of the armor, he can still use his fingers like an arm no matter how heavy it is. It's not weaker than him. Li Zongfeng said disdainfully. Chen Lin's summons have SS-level growth talents at the minimum, and their potential is no less than SSS-level talents. This scene looked familiar to Feng Yi, and the corner of his mouth twitched. I used to look down on Chen Lin, thinking that he was the top pick, but now I'm blowing it hard. Feng Yi, how is the situation of your team? Chen Lin suddenly asked. As soon as he heard this question, Feng Yi had a bitter look on his face. The two guys behind me were too careful to dare to deal any damage. I was almost the one doing the fighting. Luo Zan resisted until he was half disabled before killing a mutated beast. In the end, we only completed 2 tasks before we withdrew from the mountains because it would be dangerous to continue. Feng Yi sighed slightly. Sooner or later something will happen if the team continues like this. As he spoke, he looked at Li Zongfeng and Cao Yang silently. You must have eaten a lot. Quote. The two of them were confused. After eating the barbecue I specially cooked for you, you will be mine. Feng Yi smiled and said, hurry up and agree to my invitation to form a team. Li Zongfeng's expression was cold. I'll pay you back 100 strings tomorrow. How do you pay back? What are you giving back? Feng Yi stood up and slapped the table. This is the meat I worked hard to roast using the secret recipe handed down from my ancestors. I won't sell it if others take 10 billion. How can you afford such a precious thing? What else? Li Zongfeng laughed angrily. Do you want a guy who can't beat me? If Chen Lin wasn't here, I guarantee I would kill you with a knife. Can I allow you to scream? Okay, are you talking like this? Feng Yi was angry. Don't force me to open up. A sword appeared in Li Zongfeng's hand. Come. Feng Yi immediately knelt on his knees and hugged his thigh. Since you are too soft to eat, don't blame me for being softer. 3 people. Silence. Hard to comment. Li Zongfeng's mouth twitched slightly. He thought he was going to fight, but he didn't expect him to kneel on the spot. Let go. Go and kneel somewhere else. Don't let go. Feng Yi said the most humble words in the toughest tone. If you don't recognize me as your adopted son today, I won't get up. Cao Yang couldn't help but was about to laugh when he felt one of his feet being hugged, and his smile immediately disappeared. Open. Don't let go. Feng Yi hugged their feet tightly. I won't let go even if I beat them to death. Chen Lin was eating skewers and watching the show, saying it was wonderful. At 9 o'clock in the morning, a strange scene occurred at the access point. 2 people were dragging one person. To be precise, one person was holding the 2 people's feet tightly. Li Zongfeng looked gloomy. They all slept in the same bed, and Feng Yi didn't let go at all. Luo Zan and Luo Ning were waiting outside and were a little confused when they saw such a scene. Feng Yi, what are you doing? Mopping the floor. Feng Yi replied. Quote. Li Zongfeng said with a dark face, get up quickly and choose tasks. I don't have time to waste here. Feng Yi's eyes lit up. Have you agreed to form a team? Cao Yang. When you were asleep in the early morning, he got up and accepted the invitation to form a team, but you haven't even looked at him yet. Feng Yi jumped up all of a sudden, his face becoming extremely happy. Seeing him like this, Li Zongfeng's attitude was still very cold. I'm just worried that you will keep pestering me and hinder me from entering the mountains. Don't get me wrong. If you behave too badly, I will quit the team immediately. No problem. Feng Yi ran into the access point and quickly selected the mission. Chen Lin, who was also accepting the mission, smiled. Seeing the 5 people leaving in a noisy manner, he chose 2 difficult level missions required by level 4 and set off towards the mountains as well. He didn't notice that his ranking quietly dropped 1 place on the big screen. At the headquarters, after discovering that Chen Lin had entered the mountains, the female officer immediately asked someone to call Yang Xiao. He then stared at the screen solemnly. Not long after, Yang Xiao straightened his military cap, walked in quickly, and said immediately, what mission did he take on this time? Strength requirements for level 4, difficult level. Hearing this, Yang Xiao twitched the corner of his mouth and took a deep breath. I'm not satisfied with 2 big turns. This kid still wants to make 3 big turns. The 4th turn corresponds to mutant beasts above level 40. This is a watershed. Even if the gunpowder is used up by an armed helicopter, it can't wipe off a layer of skin of a level 40 mutant beast, which is almost like scratching an itch. Inform the instructors at Skylark Academy and ask them to follow him. I'm afraid something will happen to Chen Lin. Yes, the female officer immediately started operating. Soon, this information was transmitted to the 3 Skylark instructors staying at the Hengshan base through the smart wrist. After receiving it, they immediately discussed it and finally let Zhang Wuyu go. As long as Chen Lin presses the call for help button, he can get support as soon as possible. Half of the remaining 20 or so instructors are stationed throughout the Balian Mountains to prevent any accidents. If there are students nearby calling for help, they will immediately go to provide support. Half of them are cleaning out level 50 to 59 mutant beasts in the depths. Among the countless giant trees and vines, a giant black wolf walked through at high speed. Chen Lin sat on it with his eyes closed to meditate. In about an hour, we arrived at the mission target location. This speed is several times faster than last time, saving a lot of time. He looked at the huge level 44 3-headed snake with its body wrapped around a 100-meter rock. It looked at him with cold eyes and hissed a warning. Chen Lin silently stretched out his hand. After a night's rest, his mental strength had returned to perfection. A transparent and mysterious sword more than 1 meter long appeared. To be cautious, strike first. As Chen Lin slowly raised his hand and waved it down, the 3-headed snake suddenly shrank its eyes, sensing the crisis. The next second, the snake head on the left suddenly let out a shrill scream, and then fell powerlessly on the rock. When the other 2 snakeheads saw this, they quickly pushed it a few times and found that there was no sound. They were a little frightened for a moment. Why is he dead? Seeing this scene, Chen Lin was quite surprised. He had thought that they would be seriously injured or slightly injured, but he never thought of this situation. Dead, but the other 2 heads are still alive. Like death. The 3-headed snake looked at Chen Lin again with vicious eyes and let out a shocking scream. Chen Lin silently jumped from He Ming's head, and the 13 tons of weight directly hit the ground with a small crater. Go up and bite it. After receiving the order, He Ming roared immediately, and his size suddenly grew to more than 300 meters. Black flames rose from his body, like a natural disaster beast coming. Feeling the terrifying and ferocious power, the 2 pairs of snake eyes of the 3-headed snake instantly became serious, and a poison surged up and rolled up its throat. Seeing this scene, He Ming rushed forward, knocking down the giant trees along the way, causing the ground to tremble and golden light to emerge. Hiss! The 3-headed snake's wings vibrated, and it suddenly opened its mouth and spit out purple poison. The huge size made He Ming unable to hide, so he directly resisted, opened his fangs and bit the snake head in the middle, and brought it to the ground for a while, rolling around, raising countless smoke and dust. Hiss! The indestructible golden light was stuck by the poison, and gradually became fragmented under the constant erosion. The other snakehead saw himself being bitten crazily, roared and opened his fangs, biting hard, and the golden light penetrated into Haiming's flesh and blood. In an instant, the poison spread all over Haiming's body along with the fangs, and flowed into the internal organs along with its blood and began to melt. Ouch! With nearly 1,000 physical attributes under giant transformation, Haiming could withstand the poisonous erosion. Black light appeared on his sharp claws and directly swatted away the snake's head that was biting it. Chen Lin stood on the edge and silently performed the strengthening and restoration techniques, then pulled out the heavenly sword and disappeared instantly. Suddenly appeared in front of the three-headed snake, the heavenly sword penetrated the snake's eyes fiercely. Hiss! Under the severe pain, the snake's head roared fiercely, stared fiercely at Chen Lin, whose figure was falling rapidly, and immediately bit him. At this time, the sharp claws carrying the dark flames swung out instantly, slamming it into the ground. In the air, Chen Lin saw the tail of a snake more than 30 meters thick curling up and roaring in the wind, and Chen Lin immediately raised his knife to resist it. Boom! A white shock wave instantly exploded in the center, and Chen Lin's figure hit the ground like a missile, with smoke and dust billowing. Seeing this scene, Haiming's vertical pupils were suddenly filled with rage, and with the blessing of the strengthening technique, his combat power became even more powerful. His sharp claws attached to the black light exploded into the air and tore it apart ferociously. Hiss! The hard skin was as fragile as paper at this moment, and a hideous wound several meters deep was torn out, and a large amount of blood flowed out. The three-headed snake looked up to the sky and hissed. Its huge snake body wrapped around Haiming and strangled it fiercely. The two snake heads instantly attacked from different directions. The three attributes were broken by 1,000 blows, and Haiming's aura was violent. Without any fear, he slapped the snake's head away with one palm. Then he turned his head in an instant, his fangs biting the neck of the other snake head and tearing it wildly, as if to break it off. Boom boom! The 200-meter giant beasts struggled together with a terrifying force. Countless soil exploded, giant trees collapsed, and the earth shook. Chen Lin stood up from the smoke and felt a little numb in his chest, but otherwise he was fine. It can only be said that Yindi's defense is still so trustworthy. It's not in vain that he spent so many resources feeding him. Seeing the two giant beasts getting more and more crazy as they fought, Chen Lin sat on the rock aside and stabbed his silver sword firmly. There's only so much he can do to help, and the only thing left is to wait for Haiming to slowly grind away. If you want to reach level 4 combat power, you need to improve Silver Butterfly even more. At this time, not far away, a tall woman wearing a white armor appeared on the giant tree. Watching the familiar black giant wolf fighting with a three-headed corrosive snake, he looked incredulous. How is it possible? I remember Chen Lin is only level 16, right? His summons can fight against level 44 mutant beasts. Soon, she noticed Chen Lin sitting on the rock and went over immediately. The body is extremely light and silent. However, the young man was very vigilant, and he quickly grabbed the sword as if he was aware of it. The silver light flashed and he slashed at him instantly. Zhang Wuyu frowned slightly, placed his slender fingers on the blade and held it down. Mentor, Chen Lin looked surprised. At the freshman competition, he saw Zhang Wuyu standing next to concubine Ji, so he recognized her. Zhang Wuyu nodded and was a little surprised when she felt the weight coming from the sword. Even a level 59 professional like her had to use a little force to block it. No wonder Chen Lin's performance in the copy was so exaggerated. Although he is a summoner, he can easily crush monsters several levels above with his own power. Teacher, why are you here? Faced with doubts, Zhang Wuyu calmly retracted her trembling fingers and said calmly, I was passing by and heard a lot of noise here, so I came to take a look. Really? Chen Lin laughed and said, sorry, I thought they were enemies. Zhang Wuyu didn't feel anything was wrong at all. Seeing that he took the initiative to apologize, any dissatisfaction in her heart disappeared. It's okay. It's right to be vigilant in the wild. You don't know if you will become prey in the next second. After speaking, Zhang Wuyu glanced at Chen Lin's back from the corner of his eye, held his right hand empty, and instantly a soft sword appeared and penetrated him. Laugh. A huge lizard hidden on the side, waiting for an opportunity to attack, appeared with a look of shock. The soft sword penetrated directly from its head to its tail, and blood splashed all over the ground. Zhang Wuyu looked indifferent, and with a pull of his hand, the soft sword instantly retracted. She casually killed a level 35 mutated beast. She didn't care and said, "It can blend into the environment, but its aura is exposed unscrupulously. If you pay a little attention, you can easily find it." Chen Lin said with admiration, "The instructor is amazing." Hearing this, Zhang Wuyu's lips slightly raised happily. At this moment, a snake head of more than 30 meters suddenly fell from the sky, and with a bang, the earth cracked with countless cracks and smoke billowed. Ouch! The ferocious roar spread thousands of meters, and even the air shook. Black Ming stood on the body of the three-headed snake, and its size exceeding 300 meters looked like a real natural disaster beast with terrifying power. The surrounding area was in chaos, with the soil overturning giant trees and breaking into pieces, as if an earth dragon had turned over many times. The head of the three-headed snake was beaten to pieces and was trampled into the ground. The head of the other snake was even worse, with its upper and lower jaws torn apart and split into two halves. The jet-black flames covered its more than 300 meters long body, greedily devouring it and converting it into energy and evolutionary value. Use this as nourishment to grow. Zhang Wuyu looked a little shocked and took a deep breath. From the time when Chen Lin summoned it when he changed jobs to now, it has not even been 10 days, and its combat power has been so terrifying. She was really worried that Chen Lin wouldn't be able to command this monster at all in the future. Horrible. Even from such a distance, Zhang Wuyu could feel the violent aura that seemed to swallow up all life. On the other side, as the drone transmitted the picture to the screen, the command center suddenly became excited. 3 major transformations, a whole 28 levels difference, he really did it. Oh my god, how can this fighting power be so exaggerated? Ha ha ha, I feel like he is stronger than that evildoer who awakened the third S-level talent. Hearing the exclamations, Yang Xiao was a little excited. He still underestimated Chen Lin's potential. He didn't expect that he could achieve this level. Could it be that his summons are really SSS level growth talents? Thinking of this, Yang Xiao's breathing became rapid. He suddenly hesitated. Should he continue with his plan? If Chen Lin had an accident, it would definitely be a huge loss to the entire Daxia. But he quickly shook his head. The initiative has never been in the hands of the human race, and even if he wanted to stop, he couldn't. The alien race will not miss this great opportunity. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.